All right, here we go. Welcome into Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Collin. Iowa football has started practicing. They are in full swing as they started fall camp. This last Wednesday, we're itching closer and closer to the football season. So what's in store today? I am going to go through the position groups and discuss any maybe question marks, storylines as we now enter fall camp. I'm really looking forward to Iowa Media Days and the Kids Day scrimmage because you get a little bit out of both of those things. But until then, we won't really know a whole lot. So we're just going to go through some different things here today to get you guys prepared and ready to go for the next couple weeks until, we might know a little bit more what's going on. Let's begin. Let's start with the quarterback position. Mark Gronowski, and the big question mark with him is, will his game translate from the FCS level to the FBS level? We all know, especially in the Big Ten, right? The speed and talent is a little bit different compared to the teams that he was facing, the defenses that he was facing in the FCS. And so that will be the big question mark. And we really won't know until week 2 because we play Albany week 1. And I'm almost positive Mark and his team beat Albany like 2 years ago, 50-some to 10 or something like that. That game, like let's say Mark comes out, looks really good. Our offense looks really good. I'm going to be excited, but we also kind of have to take a step back a little bit and just know it is Albany. They're not very good. We will really know come week 2, hostile environment inside Jack Trice Stadium when we play Iowa State. So it'll be just interesting. And I know a couple weeks ago, there was out of every fan that would do this, no surprise here, a Nebraska fan had a couple series of videos of when Mark played Oklahoma State this last year. And I think he wanted to prove like, hey, look at this. He against one FBS team, he looked not very good. Although he actually didn't look bad. Like, yes, there were a few throws. There were probably a few plays where Mark probably wishes he had back. But I went back and rewatched that entire game, or when they played on offense anyway. And I don't think he looked that bad. I don't think it was a terrible game by Mark. His final stats were 20 for 37, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Yes, completion percentage wasn't that great, but he did finish with almost 300 yards. Was it a great game? No, but it wasn't a bad game either. You go back a few years ago when he played Iowa inside Kinnick. Didn't have that good of a game, but look at who he was going up against. One of the best defenses in the country. That was one of the best Iowa defenses that I can recall, and you're playing inside Kinnick Stadium. Luckily for him, he's on our side moving forward, and he was also coming off a season-ending knee injury the year prior, so he hadn't played in over a year and a half. So you can't really take a whole lot away there. But yeah, so that is going to be the big question. Like, can his game translate from the FCS level to the FBS level? And for me, I'm cautiously optimistic, and the reason why I say that is because the last quarterback that we got, which was Cade McNamara, I was so excited for that dude, and he made me look like an idiot, made a lot of Iowa fans look like an idiot because we all thought like, boy, I think we are back. I think we are going to be great. But I think with Cade, I think it was a series of different things. I think number one, his injuries, you think about all the time that he missed. And then when he finally came to Iowa, he has an injury during fall camp. He's never right. Then he has a season-ending knee injury. And I just think the injuries piled up. I think having to be coached by Brian Ferentz for a year did not help him at all. And I think this is something that we were maybe blind to as Iowa fans, but let's face it, how good his Michigan team was in 2021. I mean, that was like an NFL team. He had great running backs. He had a really good offensive line, really good defense, some decent playmakers. And so he just had to kind of be a facilitator. At Iowa, right, he had to be the guy for us. Like, he had to be the guy. He had to make the plays for us, and he never did. I don't think he ever made that one play that we needed. And that's what really burned us with Cade. With Mark, right, what's kind of nice about him is since he's coming to the FBS level, right, he has a chip on his shoulder, something to prove that, hey, I can compete. I can play against the best of the best, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why he decided to come back for another year in college instead of going to the NFL. But the team around him is going to be better at Iowa than it was at South Dakota State. So although he is going to be going up against better defenses, no doubt, he's going to have better playmakers. He's going to have better running backs. He's going to have a way better offensive line. And he's going to have, hopefully, some good wide receivers, right? And that's something we're going to get into here in a little bit is, can the wide receiver room take that next step? So that is where I'm at with Mark. I'm really interested to see how things progress during fall camp. I'm sure there's going to be some videos. I'm really excited for Kids Day. You go back to last year for Kids Day. whew, it was a bad day for both quarterbacks. Brendan Sullivan looked okay, but he was also going up against the second team. But Cade looked awful. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how Mark looks that day. And then outside of Mark, just looking at the quarterback room, you go back to Big Ten Media Days, Kirk Ferentz said this room is upgraded than years past. And so I'm interested to see who the second stringer is. It's probably going to be Hank Brown, but it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds with Hank Brown and Jeremy Alinsky, because I think they are kind of high on Jeremy Alinsky. The fact that he hasn't even really practiced yet and he's already kind of in the mix, he's already kind of ahead of Jackson Stratton, tells you something. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see that QB2 battle. All right, let's switch to the running back room now. I don't really have any question marks here. I just want to continue to see how Kamari Moulton progresses as running back 1. And then for me, it's really about who's going to be running back 2. Will it be TJ Washington or will it be Jazz Patterson? I'm starting to believe that it will be TJ Washington. I think he has a little bit more of an upside. I think he can add that dynamics, especially on third downs, considering he was in the wide receiver room last year, so he can catch the football and be just a dynamic playmaker for us. I think with Jazz, he gained some weight. He was already a pretty powerful guy, down the hill runner, but gained some weight, which might add to that. It's just about, can he maintain that speed since he added some weight for him? So I think both options are good. It's just going to be interesting to see who emerges as running back 2. And then you look underneath all those guys, some of the younger dudes, I think they're really high on Xavier Williams. He's a redshirt freshman, kind of a bigger type guy. But according to Tim Lester, he has really good strength. So anxious to kind of see how that all plays out. And then the guy that's a freshman, Nathan McNeil, Tyler and I saw him at the spring game, had a few nice runs. They're really high on him as well. Will he play this year? I don't know. Will he end up redshirting? Maybe. I mean, it just depends on how healthy we are in that room and do we really need to play him? But something to look out for, something to watch for sure. All right, let's switch to the wide receiver room. This is a room that I am very high on. I have a sneaky sense of confidence with this room. I really do feel like they are going to take that next step this next year, but we also have to wait to see it to believe it. And I've said that many times. I try to be as cautiously optimistic as possible when it comes to certain position groups for Iowa, like quarterback, wide receiver, because we have been burned before. Not just once, but twice and 3 times and 4 times. And it's one of those situations where you just have to kind of wait to see it. But man, I really do love this room. I keep saying it. We have at least 8 guys that you at least feel confident with, starting at the top with Jacob Gill, Reese Vanderzee, Seth Anderson, who is now a senior and hopefully stays healthy, because I think he has a lot of potential. He just has not been healthy the last few years. Then you go down the list even further. You have Sam Phillips, a transfer from Chattanooga, who had 78 targets and did not drop a ball there. So, I mean, that's pretty damn good. You have KJ Parker, the young redshirt freshman who hasn't even scratched the surface yet. I keep saying it. Look out for that man. He is going to be very good for us. I remember when we got him, I was very surprised that we got him. He put up insane numbers at his high school in Illinois. Then you have guys like Jerry Bowie, who played a little bit last year, actually had an okay bowl game. Dane Howard, who is very tall and added some weight and really looks the part. And then Caden Weegan. So you got guys in there that you feel comfortable with. And then you bring in a 4-star Terrence Smith, who probably won't see the field, but that's just another body. And so you're up to 9 scholarship guys. Very much different compared to 3 years ago when we opened up the season against South Dakota State, where our wide receivers consisted of essentially 1 scholarship player in Arlen Bruce because Keegan Johnson was out. And then we had to rely on 2 walk-ons to essentially start that game, Jack Johnson and Alec Wick. Not good. I'm just excited to see how this room continues to grow. I keep harping, does this room have a all Big Ten caliber player? Probably not, but that doesn't mean that this room can't be good or at least take that next step. And I said this last year when we got Tim Lester, you're not going to go from 0 to 100 like this. It's going to take steps. And so we've been so bad for so long. Can we just take that next step in the room? So then moving forward in the future, it's not a laughing stock. All right, let's move to tight end. You got the top 3 guys, Addison Ostrenga, Zach Ortworth, who I'm really excited about. I think he's going to have a great year. And then Hayden Large, who's more of kind of that fullback type player for us. I know we don't really use fullbacks anymore, but he's kind of that blocker, not going to really do a whole lot in the passing game for you. For me, what I'm kind of looking for is to see who emerges one of the younger guys. Michael Burt, redshirt freshman. Obviously, we lost Gavin Huffman, which kind of sucked. He was at 4-star, ended up going to Missouri. DJ Vanami, he's from my hometown of Carroll, Iowa. He just got put on scholarship. I remember at the Carroll Area I Club, Kirk Ferentz was talking about him after the spring game, just saying how, productive he was during spring ball. And the one thing about DJ, and this is just because I know, of him being in my hometown, he's a very athletic player. He was a quarterback for Kemper, and he added about 30 pounds to his frame. And so now he's up to like 245, 250. So something to kind of keep an eye on. And then you go even further down the list, Mason Woods, obviously LeVar's son. He has a lot of potential, but he's probably going to be maybe a year out from producing for us. And then Thomas Meyer, the 4-star that we got, or was he a 4-star? I think he was a 4-star out of Spirit Lake, Northwest Iowa. Got some dudes in there. I like how we're kind of experienced, and then we have some younger guys. It's all about how some of those younger guys can emerge for us, because we might need to rely on one or two of those guys, especially if we have some injuries. All right, let's move to offensive line. Obviously, the big question mark is who is going to be the left tackle, right? That's the big mystery. Is it going to be Jack Doetzler? Is it going to be Trevor Locke? Is it going to be Bryce George? Regardless, that said person, whether it's George, Doetzler, or Locke, can they just live up to kind of what Mason Richmond did, right? Because Mason Richmond was a nice player for us, decently productive for us. If they can kind of get close to that, I think we're in good shape. But I think it's a position group that obviously we're talking about it, but I think it's a little bit more, we need to talk more about it, because that left tackle position is so critical for success on an offense. And you think about Mark, right? He needs to have a decent left tackle. You can't have a bad left tackle. And so whoever it is, one of those three guys, your hope is they can be pretty good for us. Outside of that, man, it's all about just hopefully staying healthy, because I really like the other 4 guys, Bo Stevens, Logan Jones, Cade Pieper, and Jennings Dunker. I mean, you can't get a whole lot better than that. So hopefully they can stay healthy through fall camp. And then some of the younger guys, right, to build that depth a little bit, hopefully they can start emerging in there. So yeah, left tackle, really the big thing, really something to just keep an eye on as we go through fall camp. All right, let's switch to the defense now. Defensive line, I'm really excited for this group. I think I'm more excited than maybe I was going into like spring ball, for example. I just think that we finally actually have some depth there. Now, if we start having some injuries, hopefully not, then maybe not. But you look at the starting 4, Ethan Herkett, Aaron Graves, probably Jonah Pace. I would think he might start right away. And then Max Llewellyn. Pretty good. And then you look at the backups, Brian Allen, Bryce Hawthorne, who I've heard nothing but good things about, Jeremiah Pittman, Kenneth Merriweather. And then you go down the list even further, some of the younger guys that have a lot of potential, Devin Kennedy, Joseph Anderson, Chimichanike, Jose Epinenza, right? So you got guys that can help fill the void. Something that I think we lacked a little bit last year was that depth at defensive line, especially at defensive tackles. So for me, it's just about building that depth there, right? And so if you tell me right now that we're feeling pretty good with the rotation of Aaron Graves, Jonah Pace, Bryce Hawthorne, and Jeremiah Pittman, then I'm feeling pretty good about the defensive line in general. I just really love the starters. I mean, you're talking Max Llewellyn, Ethan Herkett, and Aaron Graves. That's really good. And then whether it's Bryce Hawthorne or Jonah Pace, your hope is that, they can contribute in a good way as well. And the reason why we need the defensive line to be good is because, and this is the next one, is linebacker. Probably maybe the biggest question mark on this team is how will we replace Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson? It's going to be very tough. It's going to be Jaden Harrell and Carson Shire, and then when we're in a 4-3 set, Jackson Resroth. Now, the thing with Shire and Harrell is similar to like Jay Higgins. They waited their turn. They're both seniors now. They've been in the program now for a few years. They don't have a lot of experience, right? But they're in the same situation that we were in a few years ago when Jack Campbell left and Seth Benson left, right? We were relying on Jay Higgins. No one really knew a whole lot about him. The only thing we knew about was he waited his turn, and his time was now. I don't think it's fair to compare these two guys to what we've had the last 3 to 4 years. We've been very fortunate, but the hope is just be productive, be decent for us, and I think we'll be fine. Carson Shire, I'm really high on. The problem with him is he's been very injured in the past, and so if he can stay healthy, over the years, I've heard nothing but good things about Shire. I've heard how good he is. It's just about staying healthy. So if he can stay healthy, if he can be on the field come August 30th healthy, I think we will be fine. So think about the linebacker room. Jaden Harrell, Carson Shire, right? Let's say they end up not looking as good as what we hope for. I think the younger guys might see the playing field a little bit because we have a very, very talented group of younger guys that I think will, maybe not this year, but they are the future for Iowa football at the linebacker position. And so if there is a little bit of a struggle, and I hope there's not, I hope Harrell and Shire can have great senior campaigns, one final go around, make the most of it. But if there is, I think you might see some of the younger guys emerge. And so for me, it's all about, once again, similar to the defensive line and, offensive line, building that depth there. That way, if there are, number one, if there are injuries, which hopefully not, but then if there is struggles there, because that is a position group that I think if you ask any Iowa fan, what is one thing that you are concerned about going in this year? Majority are going to say linebacker. Now, for me, I don't think I'm as concerned about the linebacker room. And it's because we have the best linebacker coach in the country in Seth Wallace. And the dude's a stud. He has developed and put out some amazing players over the years. I'm not too worried with Seth Wallace in charge. That's for sure. All right, let's move to secondary now. And I think really the big question mark is who's going to be cornerback 2. Now, I said on the last episode that I think you can pencil in TJ Hall as CB1. But at the same time, though, I don't think that's a 100% certain. But I'm just going to go out on the limb and say he's going to be cornerback 1. So then at that point, who's going to be cornerback 2? Is it going to be Deshaun Lee, who started a lot of games the last 2 years? Is it going to be Shaheed Barrows from South Dakota? Is it going to be Jalen Watson, who Kirk talked about at the media days and is very impressive young man who's a redshirt freshman, saw some time in special teams last year and actually played a little bit at the cornerback position last year? Or is it going to be Rashad Godfrey, another redshirt freshman? So you have some options there. It's just going to be really interesting to see where we go. And, come Kids Day, for example, like who's going to be the starting corner alongside TJ Hall? Because I do think it's going to be TJ Hall, and then it's really about who's going to be that other player on the other side. And then at safety, I talked about this on the last episode, but I'm really high on the safety position. I just think moving X to free safety was the right move. And then it really comes down to, okay, who's going to be the cash? Who's going to be the strong safety? I don't think you can really go wrong with either or, but I think it's going to be Cohen at cash, who has a lot of upside, a lot of potential. And then Zach Lutmar, same thing, a lot of upside, a lot of potential, very athletic. So I think those 3 guys are an upgrade compared to last year. And that's something I think when you look at the secondary last year, yes, you can blame the corners, but I also think the safeties weren't that good either. Quinn Schulte didn't have that good of a year. Castro, we were so high on him. I don't think he had as good of a year as maybe he hoped. And then Xavier playing strong safety. I just don't think that's the right area for him. Moving him to free safety, I think, is big time. And so I'm really excited for those 3 guys. And I think they are going to help this defense get back to hopefully where we've been at the few years prior to last year. All right, let's move to special teams now. And I think this might be the best unit in the country when you factor in Reese Dakin at punter, Drew Stevens at kicker, and then the best returner in college football, no doubt, in Caden Weegan. You just can't get much better than those 3. Now, the big question mark is who's going to be the long snapper. I think that's something that goes unnoticed most years, and we had a really good long snapper the last few years. So this year, we go out and we get a transfer from Boston College that should help, right? He has some experience, but just something to kind of keep an eye on. And then who's going to be alongside Caden Weegan in the kick return game? They asked LeVar Woods prior to the spring game, and he mentioned like TJ Washington and Sam Phillips. So just something to kind of keep an eye on, just kind of see how all that unfolds. So that is all it. Just a little bit here or there for each position group as we once again enter fall camp and we get underway. This is early August, so a lot of things can change between now and August 30th when Iowa takes on Albany. The one thing for sure is let's just hope that there is no injuries. There's no serious injuries. Obviously, there's always going to be a few things here or there, but your hope is that you can get into the first game with no serious injuries, especially in the starting lineups. And that is the big thing. That will do it for this episode. We will be back in a week or two. Until then, have a good rest of your week and go Hawks.